There was a great Englishman by the name of Kingsley who developed quite a rapport with Dr. F.D. Maurice. And when he was asked the secret of his life, Kingsley said, "I had a friend. I had a friend." And you know, I think I've told you before, to get through the darkest periods of your life, you only need really one friend. But that makes all the difference. Someone that will walk through hell with you. It makes all the difference. Abiding with Christ is something like that. Having that one good friend. The secret of the life of Jesus was his constant contact with the Father. Again and again in the Bible, you see Jesus withdrawing to a solitary place so that he can pray and be in contact with the Father. And you and I have to find a way to sustain ourselves through prayer. We can do what Jesus did. And we have to be deliberate about it. We have to say, this is the time I'm going to devote to prayer. And you make it a habit. My prayer life is built around morning prayer. I insist on it. And it's not to be demanding of anyone else. I do this to sustain me. In doing morning prayer, I find a way to be in contact with my friend, who is Lord of all. And it makes me better. And I encourage you to find some kind of discipline like that that will encourage and support and sustain you. Now, why do you suppose Jesus goes to such lengths to help us with this mysterious thing called love? Today's gospel tells us some of the reasons. I have spoken these things to you that my joy may be in you. And who wouldn't like to be full of joy? And that your joy might be complete. Now, so what this means is we are literally chosen for joy. To be full of the joy of the Lord. And this is not the joy of the world or a momentary pleasure. This is complete, total satisfaction. And who doesn't want that? Jesus chose us for this gift. And now he will send us into the world to take this gift of love to those who do not have it. We don't always live like this, do we? Often we find ourselves competing with one another. Sometimes we even fight and quarrel with one another. But Christians are in fact called to live in such a way that we show the world what it means to love one another. And to be there for one another, and to help one another. And here Jesus makes one more claim. If we ask, what right do you have, Lord, to demand that we love one another, his answer is clear. He says, no one can show greater love than to lay down his life for his friends. And he did, didn't he? He laid down his life on the cross for all of us. And you are my friends if you do what I command. See, he's not calling us to be slaves or servants. And the doulos, or slave of God, was a very important title in the Old Testament. Moses called himself the slave of God. But Jesus says, I don't call you to be a slave or a servant, but my friend. I call you to be my friends. And you are my friends if you do what I command. And I want to be a friend of Jesus. I want to do what he commands. And this is why I've told you, love is not easy. It's demanding. It takes practice. It takes hard work. You have to do it with great intent. But you can, at times, have selfless love, generous and good selfless love. Now here's what one preacher says about this command to love. He says, if you study the life and words and parables and actions of Jesus, you will find an eternity's worth of things you should do. But there was precisely one thing which was so vital that Jesus actually went so far as to phrase it as a command. And that was to love one another. We are to love one another, cherish one another, even lay down our lives for one another if necessary. And it's all an extension of being on a branch of Jesus' true vine. We talked about that true vine last week. Apparently, Jesus knew that if we could do this, just do this one thing, everything else would follow. What? Think about taking a child, a 5-year-old, to an ice cream parlor. Do you really have to give that kid explicit instructions? You take the cone, you eat the cone, you enjoy the cone, you find it delicious, and so on and so on and so on. Or do you just get the kid to the ice cream parlor and the rest follows? So it is with love. We have to get this one thing right. Love one another as I have loved you. And if we can't get this, nothing else will work. And C.S. Lewis used to say, what does it mean to be a Christian without joy? The surest sign of a Christian is joy. And this joy comes from loving one another. We are full of the love of the Lord. And so we have to practice it. We have to work at it. And once again, love is not principally about feelings, it's about the will. And so I choose to love my brothers and sisters because Jesus asked me to. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.